Mariano, done. Good evening, guys. How are you?
Fine, I'm great.
Fine, you?
Well, well enough, well enough. But we'll see, we'll see. Well, guys, let's begin with the chat. You know how this works. Today we have a chat that is about project planning. I particularly like a lot this chat, essentially because I work on this. But in any way, you know how the whole process is. Please introduce yourselves. What is, well, this is technical for people who have projects. Guys, does any of you have a project? You're the leader of a project or something like that? Or you're just going with the flow?
Well, in my case, I'm Tiffany, by the way. I don't have any projects in that I'm leading right now, so in that matter, I don't relate with that. But I'm willing to learn a bit of the uh, the the tools to to apply them in the future if I'm
All right. Well, by the way, what Tiffany did is actually quite smart. Congratulations for that. Introduce yourselves when you're going to speak, and then tell me if you have a project or whatever. That is definitely more efficient. Thanks, Tiffany.
Well, hello guys. My name is Angel Ramirez. I'm studying petroleum engineer in the UCB. I have a project planning because I will make a project about project petroleum for my career because it's very important for the country and Venezuela because the petroleum is the first source the money in the country. Yes.
All right, all right. Who else? Who else? Keep going.
Well, hi, I'm Daniel. And what is project planning? Well, I kind of don't know what is project planning, but I get it's something related, the usual steps of things that you have to keep in mind while you want when you want to approach or complete something. Um, I don't usually implement those things. I just, as you say, I go with the flow.
Cool, cool. That sounds smart and certainly less stressful. Who else?
Okay, my name is Carolina Romero. I'm 23 years old. What is pre-planning? Well, like everyone says, it's like a steps that you need to do for I don't know for um create something or for do something. I think it's very important because it's a way to make our dreams real. So it's very interesting for me.
Carol, Carol. Wow, you are actually going quite deeper. She got philosophical on this. She actually said that this is a way to make dreams come true. That is, in a way, true. In some way, let's see about that. But your definition, everyone's definition in general is right. Project planning is essentially a group of activities. It's pretty much the steps, as you all said, is the steps you made to do to make something happen. Essentially, you want something to happen, and that's your main goal. That's the main objective you want to achieve. And to make it happen, you have to make certain other things to happen before. So that is exceptionally essentially what project planning is about. So who wants to read this slide I'm having here about the definition? Anyone?
Oh, I can read.
Okay.
Project planning. A project is the group of activities aimed at reaching about clearly specific objectives within a defined time period and with a defined budget. Project planning. The project planning is a part of a project management, which relates to the use of the schedule, such as a charts, to plan and subsequently report progress within the project environment. The key to a successful project is in the planning. Creating a project plan is the first thing you should do when undertaking any kind of project.
Very well. Tell me something, guys. Has any of you ever worked in, I don't know, in any place at all, uh, or participate? Have you ever participated in any project within AVAA? Anything about it?
Oh, well, I don't know.
Really?
Yes.
What kind of
Yeah.
lousy scholars are you guys? AVAA scholars should be involved
Yes.
in everything. You know,
Yes,
doing
yes,
things.
yes.
Well, what projects are you involved or what things are you doing?
Well,
Well,
oh, I don't know how to. Well, in my case, I work in two projects. In the I don't know how to say in English. Orientación al logro
Right?
and este un voluntario por la vida. Ujú.
All right, all right. You are
well,
part of these two projects.
well.
Cool.
I
Yes.
would like. Well, I would like. I will make a project in AVA that is SP, Society Petroleum Engineering, because it's very interesting for the students that engineer career because the SP is a organization for the student engineering.
All right, and for example, what activity would your project do? I mean, cool, you're getting a lot of attention from the engineering part of the scholars, but to do what?
Well, I don't know. I I participate in a project planning in my university. Uh, it it was it called engineering today. In this project, the people participate in the planning of work for the career and engineering for students.
So it was basically, all right, let me see if I'm getting this straight. You're trying to tell me that you would like to implement a project in AVA that essentially is for engineers, that is
Yes,
activity, and that centers in what? In helping to planify projects for engineers.
yes, for helping the student engineer and all the
Uh,
students. Yes, all students.
all right, cool, cool. Well, see that what you're talking about is essentially the core point to start a project. As you can see here, guys, every project planning, and well, the planning is naturally the most important part of a project because the whole thing is about to making activities or achieving goals within a period of time under a budget. I mean, the whole thing is sounds like a complex definition, but it's simple. You have to deliver things and you have to do it in a organized way and within the budget. That's essentially the whole thing of the project planning. For instance,
I
in
have a question. So project planning you can use for personal goals, for
yeah,
example.
yeah, I manage my life like it was a project. For instance,
Exactly.
you first, what in the case of of Angel, he already defined his objective. That is pretty much the main thing you have to do before starting a project. To have a goal, to define what do you want. He wants to make a project for engineering that is about project planning. All right,
Yes, yes.
that is his objective. Now he has to establish a schedule to materialize that goal, and he has to say, all right, to which to which people, sorry, to which with which resources I count to make this happen. To whom I can go to help me on this. Those are the things that are essentially important for project planning: resources, time, and having a well-defined goal. Once you have all those three, you are starting to planify. So this whole part of settling the goal is what you can see here as definition. You start creating the definition of your project, what it's going to do, how it's going to do it, and why you are doing it. Once that happens, then you can start planning, executing, later on, closing and evaluating your results. That is the cycle about project planning. You can use this, for instance, for pretty much every project, whether it's social or political or economical or even academical, or as you just mentioned, you can use it in your own life. You can settle goals for your own life year by year and trying to achieve them on a regular basis with a well-defined structure. That is essentially what project planning is about. So yes, your life can be considered a project. In any case, for instance, going with examples, tell us, in the case, I believe it was you, Carolina, who said that you were involved in un voluntario por la vida y an orientación al logro, right?
Yes. Yes.
Orientación al logro, for instance, is a project, and I'm guessing, as I'm sure you probably you have to deal with the economical fact. You have to deal with the fact that you have expenses and you have a schedule. You cannot take your whole life to make it happen. So basically, what is the dynamic there? You have a chronogram, you work with deadlines. How does it work?
Yes. For example, I don't know. You have a like a schedule. And you put the days the all people meeting for I don't know, do the stands, for example. We have a specific I don't know, specific money to do that. I think we do magic with that. And every person in the project have like a task, have a work, a specific work. And when we are meeting, we together all this work and make, for example, the stands and the dynamic that we need to do the day of the orientación al logro.
To
Well,
explain the different career, no?
Yes, it's based in your career. For example, in my case, is for health because I study medicine, so I work with a group of health.
Okay. Well, perfect.
well, there you have it. Like Caroline explained, Orientación al Logro is a good example of a project. They have schedules, they have deadlines, they have responsibilities, by the way, for each one of the teams and individuals working to make the project happen. And they have regular meetings to make the project happen. So that is essentially what project planning is about. So as we were speaking, the first step for project planning is the project goals. A project can only be successful if you have something to achieve. First down. So that is essentially what this is about. Who wants to read this slide?
I want to read.
Oh,
A pro-
don't let anyone stop you.
okay. A project is successful when the needs of the skateboards have been met. A stakeholder is anybody directly or indirectly impacted by the project. As a first step, it is important to identify the stakeholders in your project. It is not always easy to identify the stakeholders of a project, particularly those impacted indirectly. Examples of stakeholders are the project sponsor, the customer how receive the deliveries, the users of the project outputs, the project manager, and project learn. Once you understand who the stakeholders are, the next step is to find out their needs. The best way to do this is by conducting stakeholder interviews. Take time during the interviews that draw out the true needs that create real benefits.
All right. Before we continue speaking, is there any doubt about the words we just saw in the slide? Any doubts about what we just read?
What
Yes,
is
what is stakeholders?
a
All right.
stakeholder?
And a stakeholder is a person who has a huge influence over a project. He might not be the person who is conducting the project, but he's a person who is providing key resources for the project to happen. All right. So
Okay.
these guys are essentially they're not proxies. That's a different concept. They are people or organizations who are supporting the project and are essentially on they have a high influence over the project because of the support they provide. For instance, let's provide an example here. Does anyone here knows what is Lidera?
Okay.
I hear about it a lot.
Well, Lidera is a program devoted to leadership. They seek to form leaders in social, political, and economical activities. All right. And
Okay.
Lidera has three stakeholders: the IESA, the Metropolitan University, and the Catholic University. They are stakeholders because the three institutions are providing the physical spaces for the activities, and they are providing the seals and the credentials for the activity to happen. So because they are providing these key resources, they are stakeholders and they have the right to speak and to have an influence over the project. All right.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
So for
understand. Thank you.
So, for
Thank
instance, you have here examples of a stakeholder, the project sponsor. That would be the case I just explained. The three universities with a program, a customer who receives the deliverables. This applies mainly, for business B2B. What it means B2B.
No, I'm sure.
Whoa.
No.
B2B means business to business. There are a lot of companies who are from massive consumption. For instance, Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola provides a lot of products to millions of people. They are B2C, B, business to commons, all right? But a B2B relationship is a relationship between two companies when one is a provider and the other one is a customer. Now, are you following me?
Okay.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yes.
So in a
Yes.
case of a project, for instance, when the client is a or your customer is a corporation, is an organization, you are in a relationship where the customer is a stakeholder of your project. Because if something goes wrong with the project, since this organization is the main beneficiary of the project, they are going to make you responsible for it. Now you follow the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
The same happens for the user of the project's outputs. This means basically the results the project is producing, who is using them. The person or organization who is using the project, well, the outputs of the project, the products of the project, has influence over the project. Therefore, because they receive the final result, so they can actually question it. And finally, there is the case of a stakeholder that is a project manager and the project team. Projects are essentially highly influenced, of course, by the people who is leading the project, including the team and the leader of the project. So that is basically what the concept of stakeholder is about, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
For instance,
Thanks.
in
Thanks for.
orientación al logro, what would it be the stakeholder?
I
Well, I don't.
think AVA is a stakeholder because they put the physical space, and
That's
a lot
true.
of the resource for do that.
That's true. That
But
is certainly true.
I think Orientación al Logro have two leaders. So I don't know if in this case they are stakeholders too.
Yeah, the common thing is that in a single project there are more than one stakeholder. There's more than one stakeholder. For instance, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Orientación al Logro is working or has always been working closely with Fe y Alegría, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, they are stakeholders too in the project, as much as the two leaders of the project, because these four entities, AVAA, Fe y Alegría, and the two project leaders, are essentially the ones who are branding the way in which the project is going to develop. So yeah, they are all stakeholders.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for saying.
Well, let's continue with this. So once you have your goal well defined, the more important thing is to classify, basically, and to determine what is needed to be, what task is needed to be complete in order to achieve that goal. All right. It has also you need to also determine how much are you going to invest on it, not only money but time and other resources, human resources. And in order to do that, you have the SMART principle, which is essentially is a tool to organize what you have to do in a project. Who wants to read this one?
I want to,
Uh,
but I need you to put it in a full screen, please.
all right, no problem. Hold on. Now,
Right now, thank you. Okay, the next step, once you have conducted all the interviews and have a comprehensive list of needs, is to prioritize them. From the prioritized list, create a set of goals that can be easily measured. A technique for doing this is to review them against the SMART principle. The way it will be easy to know when a goal has been achieved. Once you have established a clear set of goals, they should be recorded in the project plan. It can be useful to also include the needs and expectations of your stakeholders. So we have the SMART, that is SMART, and they stand for specific, specify a task to be completed, measurable, this task measurable, and how will it be included. It will help indicate when the task has been accomplished. We have achievable, the task achievable, and what are the resources and actions required to achieve the task. Now we have relevant, that is the task relevant to achieving the particular stated priorities in the learning plan and relevant to the school current circumstance. And the last one is time round, that says how long will the task take, and what the
Time
I can't
frame.
read. Okay,
Time frame. Time
time
frame
frame.
will be achieved.
Yes. Okay.
Very well, very well. Let me put it out so I can go back here. All right. So tell me, guys, any doubt about the words and vocabulary we just saw here in this slide? Question now.
Measure,
Go
measure
ahead.
up,
Measure up.
measure up.
Measurable is essentially a word that is, it means it's an attribute. It has, let me put it on this way. All right. Something is measurable when you can count the results. I mean, when you have a way to determine how much are you putting into something, that is measurable. All right.
Oh, okay, okay. Thanks.
For instance, if in the case of, let's suppose you have, I don't know, a bakery, and you are every day producing 100 pieces of bread, and you want to, and your goal is obviously to keep it running, so you need to make money. So in order to that happen, how can you measure the that is going on, that effectively you are getting enough money to keep running the business? It is measurable. How is measurable? Who wants to answer that?
Oh, okay.
Well, it's measurable because you can count how much money you receive for the bread, um, um, how much bread you do for that, no?
That would be a way. You settle an amount of breads and you say, all right, I'm investing so much money in making producing them. But that is not exactly how it ends. The thing with the measurable part is that it has to be measurable in the beginning, in the medium of the process, in the operation, but as well in the ending. I mean, it has to come with a result. And what is the final result after you sold the 100 breads? What is the end result?
The result.
Once you sold it, once you sold the 100 pieces of bread, what is the end result?
Um, on the money, how much you get from this bread.
Exactly. And that's how it becomes measurable, because as you just point out, you already know how much money you are putting into producing the 100 breads. But now you also know how much money you are getting from selling the breads. That's how
Exactly.
that's how you measure a project. How much you invest and how much you win. Essentially, that is how a project is measurable. All right.
Yes.
Any other doubt with the words here, with the SMART principle?
No, no.
All right. Have you ever used this tool in any of the projects you're working or in your life? Any time?
I never I never use it, but I think I hear before.
Well, it's possible. It's quite famous. You know, this actually wasn't invented for projects. It was originally invented for scholars and students' productivity. Because if you actually use the SMART to organize your academic schedule, it's highly likely that you will manage it quite efficiently. But after it was applied in the University of Chicago for a period of time for testing, essentially, many of the teachers who were also professors, who were also investors or businessmen or women. So they decided, they saw the principle, they saw the SMART principle, and they start applying it into the business world. That is essentially why it became so famous. But it was originally an academic tool.
Oh, so
Interesting.
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 Anyway, let's continue with this. Step 2, project deliverables. Who wants to read?
I guess it's my turn to talk.
That's true.
Well, step two. Using the goals you have defined in step one, create a list of things the project needs to deliver in order to meet those goals. Specific when and how each item must be delivered. Add the deliverables to the project plan with an estimated delivery date. More accurate delivery date will be established during the scheduling phase, which is next.
All right. So, any doubt here?
No.
No.
No? Good. Perfect. Actually, this is quite simple. One, the word deliverables is a word that is essentially the translation would be entregables, because deliverables is essentially a product, is something that you can actually pass over and you say this part of the project is done. Here you have the product, and the following person works with it. So
It's,
that is essentially what is a deliverable.
it's like the goals or the small goals that you need to do for the, I don't know, the big goal, no?
It's like the product of achieving those tiny goals. I wouldn't call it goals. It's more like a task. It's the product
Okay.
one of the tasks to achieve the goal. For instance, if you are working in, let's see, in a communications agency, and you are designing something because you have to post something in social media, the moment where the designer gives or provides the design, he's providing a deliverable. The task hasn't been completed, but he's already providing his deliverable. He already finished his part of the job. You follow me?
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
That's essentially the whole. Then the project schedule. Who wants to read this one?
I can read. Step 3, project schedule. Create a list of tasks that need to be carried out for each deliverable identified in step 2. For each task, identify the following: the amount of effort, hours or date, the resource that will carry out the task. Once you have established the amount of effort for each task, you can think about a delivery date.
Well, this means that you essentially just cannot assign tasks like a crazy douchebag. You have to know how much the people you are assigning the task it's gonna take in fulfilling that task. And once you know that, you establish the workflow, which is the sequence of the tasks that someone has to make. If, for instance, Danielle has to finish something in order to Angel work with it, then Angel cannot begin with
Yes.
his task without Daniel to finish his. So that is how the workflow works. Any doubt about it?
Well, I think that the tax is very important because help you that give order for the project. It's very important because the tax is as a order, yeah, for the project. I don't know.
No, that's correct. If you
Yes.
if you divide the goal in minor tasks, you can achieve it. That's the whole point of the task, because you know what are the steps you have to take in order to basically fulfill your goal. So yeah, that is pretty much the difference.
Yeah.
Supporting plans. All right, this is important. Who wants to read this step?
I don't see the
The new slide.
I can see the.
I can see the
Me neither.
presentation. The presentation.
You can see the presentation.
No,
What?
I don't. I
Now you can see it.
No,
no
I
no
can't.
no
Let
I
me
can't.
see if I. All right, I stopped sharing the screen. Hey, hey, hey! It was my fault.
Okay.
Sorry. All
Okay,
right,
okay,
now you can see it.
okay.
Who goes?
Well, well, I can't read.
Well,
Uh,
go.
I don't see the presentation. Oh, okay. Supporting plans. This section deals with plans you should create as part of the planning process. This can be included directly in the plan. Human resource plan identify by name the individuals or organization with a leading role in the project. For each, describe their roles and responsibilities on the project. Communications plans create and documents showing who needs to be kept informed about the projects and how they will receive the information. Risk management plan. Risk management is an important part of project management. Is important to identify as many risks to your project as a possible and be prepared if something had happened.
All right. So let's go in. Cut it into short list. First, you cannot have a project without people. Essentially, that's the whole thing with the human resource plan. Therefore, you need to know what is doing each one of the people who are working on the project. For instance, if we all would be working in a project, we cannot all be doing the same, right? We need to have different activities in order for the project to succeed, right?
Okay,
Yes.
okay, okay, yes.
So, since the very beginning, you have them to define who is going to do what. Essentially, once you do that, then you have an idea of, all right, Carolina is working on communications. Daniel is working in technology. Carlos is working in finances. Mariano is working in legality. And Tiffany is conducting the project as a whole. There you have the responsibilities. And once you have the responsibilities, then you can assign the corresponding task. Because if Carolina is working in communication, she's not going to have the same task that I have, for instance, right?
As an organization. Yeah.
Exactly. So you
Oh,
have to
okay.
delegate, organize, and distribute. That is what
Oh,
human
okay.
resource plan is about.
Okay.
Communications
Okay, okay.
plan is basically, well, once again, taking the example from the five of us. If we were working, like for instance, in Orientación al Logro, they have meetings. That is part of the communication plan because that's the moment where they actually communicate with each other. They say, look, I did A, B, C, and D. All right. I I managed to do this and this and that. That
It's a
is the moment.
planificate.
Yeah, is keeping up
Okay.
with the information, keeping up with what each one of the members of the project are doing, and when exactly is happening. Because the key part with communication is exactly that timing. You need to know what is going on where in any moment. That is because I will bet 100 bolivars that in Orientación al Logro they have a WhatsApp group because otherwise they wouldn't be working.
Okay, okay.
And that happens with pretty much every project. You need to have a communication system, whether it's a group in WhatsApp, whether it's an email, whether it's a regular meeting. You need to have it because if that is not going to happen, then how are you supposed to know what I'm doing, and how is Carolina supposed to know what Tiffany instruct to all of us to do?
Oh, okay.
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 And finally is risk. Hmm, well, we all have risk. If we take the example of our lives or daily lives, for instance, survive. Let's talk about this. A project named "Surviving the University." All right. Which
Okay,
ones
okay.
are the risk for the project surviving the university? What are the bad things that can happen that can actually put in danger that project?
Well,
Well,
uh, money for I don't know about about the thing that you need for your career. Um,
It depends because the different careers. Because for me, the transportation for my university is very difficult. It's a problem.
All right, all right. So we have transportations, getting short of money. What else?
yes,
What else?
Uh,
materials. Maybe
Bad
if
resources.
the books, the books of my material.
All right, all right. I'm impressed. No one is talking about teachers.
Well,
Oh,
we
yeah.
avoid that.
That also doesn't matter.
it's a
So,
subliminal message.
all right.
Yes.
So we have teachers, transportations, getting short of money. We have materials. We have all these things that essentially are a risk for our project, which is surviving the university. So, what do we
Yes.
do about it? For instance, what do you do, Angel, about the transportation?
Well, for the transportation, I wake up early for I have the transportation on the UCB. I don't know. It's a solution.
All right, well, that is a risk management because you know that if you have you know that transportation is a problem, you know that's a risk, and that you can actually not make it to your class because of it. So you have a plan, a backup plan, and you just said it. That is what we do with pretty much every risk in every project. If the teacher is an SOB and he wants to basically make sure that you won't pass the whole damn subject, then you start providing a plan, whether it's to change or switch the class, or whether it's to start, I don't know, providing with gifts to the teacher. But you do something about it. I mean,
Okay.
so that
Okay.
is essentially what you do with every risk. Once you identify you have something that can put in danger the survival of your project, then you start developing solutions if that something comes to happen. If the teacher becomes hardline, if the transportation fails, if you get short of money, you start coming with
Oh, okay.
backup plans.
Well, I think so that about risks is a solution at the problem. For example, for the transportation and teachers and money is a risk. I don't know. Yeah.
Sorry, I think I didn't got you. What exactly were you trying to say?
Well, I say that the risk is, for example, a solution for a problem. Yeah.
The risk management, you mean? The risk management is providing solutions to problems.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, well, that is true, indeed. But it's providing solutions to problems that you know from way ahead that can actually happen. I mean, you already know all of those things can happen way before you start the semester or the trimester. and you know how to deal with them if they ever come to happen. That is essentially what a risk management plan is about. Now let's go with this. Project planning essentials. Who wants to read?
I can read. Project planning essentials. Planning techniques. Some of the most frequently used techniques in a project planning are brainstorming, cause and effect diagrams, Gantt charts, and critical path analysis. Time and money, people.
So we already established that you need these three. You need time, money, and people in order to have a project working. So obviously you have to organize these three variables. You need to know how they are settled in the plan. For instance, you need to, with time, you need to know how many hours you are gonna need to dedicate to something in the project and how many hours is going to work each one of the members of the team. For instance, you need to know how many people you have in the team, and you need to know how much money you have in order to cover the expenses that the project is going to have. So that is pretty much everything about. It's pretty much like managing your life. Yeah, you need to know how much you're going to spend, how much you are going to be working on something, how many people you're going to have to relate with in order to achieve something. That is pretty much the whole thing. And we're getting with the final round with project planning tips. Who wants to read?
I want to, but I need the full screen again, please.
No problem.
Okay, project planning tips. Number one, plan with the team. Form planning, team planning is more effective than planning on your own. Milestones and tasks so the project can reach a successful conclusion. Number two, cover the project scope. Use the scope statement from your deliverables to make sure you include everything the customer expects you to deliver. List all the activities needed to deliver the scope. Number three, group the task into phases. Projects typically go through phases, starting with the idea all the way to launch and rollout. You should arrange your project schedule in these phases. Number four, create milestones. Adding milestones to your schedule helps the project move closer to completion. And that's all.
All right. So, do you know, guys, what is milestones?
No, I
No.
don't know.
No.
No.
Let's put an example.
It's like little goals that are,
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know, like
For it,
put
it it's
through
like
time.
it's a goal that settles a new stage of a project or a new
Okay.
stage for whatever you're doing. For instance, when the humankind achieve to make a landing, to make a human to land in the moon, they settle a milestone. From that moment on, in the space career, there was a milestone because a human actually walked over the moon.
Okay.
Now, any doubts until here? Anything you want to clarify? Any questions?
No. It's
I have a
very.
doubt with scope.
All right, a scope. A scope is pretty much is like range. It's like the wide. In Spanish, the word is rango. is pretty much the whole thing, the whole amount of activities and many other dependencies a project has. Is like all the things you need to achieve, all the things that are involved in order to the project to work properly. That is basically in scope.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Everything fine?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
All right, then we're pretty much done. I would like to know just one more thing. I would like to know in which part of your life are you planning to apply this? If I can have that curiosity satisfied. Go ahead, tell me.
Well, in my case, um, I will like to I will I would like to do a project for investigation. So for my career for medicines, I want to do investigation work, and I want to use that too for my life, for the next steps, because in December I'm graduate, so I need to know how to do with my life when I finish my career.
All right, that sounds reasonable, actually. Quite reasonable. Anyone else wants to share?
No. No.
Well, in my case, as Carolina said, I want to apply it in my life because as I hope to graduate at December. So I really want to plan and like organize my life in a way that I can achieve the goals that I have in mind for my future. So making those steps as planning it and trying to make the best I can with the resources I have is what I really want to do right now.
All right, all right. Good, good. The guys of the room are the one left in them. Oh, come on, don't be shy. You have to speak
Well,
English.
I would like that I will make a plan for the students for my career because the engineering is very difficult, exactly for the people in the first semester, and I would like help these people because for me it's very important help the people in the first semester for my career or engineering is very difficult and exactly the first and second semester. Yeah.
All right, all right. And finally, Daniel, you go.
So, what was the question?
How you are supposed to apply this of project planning you learned today in your life?
Well, I don't know if I will use it on my life. I've been trying to do those kind of things on a daily basis, but for me, it's kind of hard because when you plan something, when you never expect it, something happens, and then you have to change everything that you have done. So yeah, so it's kind of difficult nowadays to have a plan and follow it. At least for me, it's really really difficult. But I don't know. I really did it sometimes, but I never follow. As I said before, I go with the flow.
All right. Well, at least it sounds like a reasonable philosophy in any case. Well,
Yeah.
guys, that's pretty much it about this chat. I will be sending the form. That won't happen tomorrow. It's probably going to happen Monday. I actually have to send another form because I haven't sent the form from the chat from the last week. So there are two forms. Anyway, that's it, guys. I hope you have enjoyed the whole presentation, and well, see you the next Saturday if you want.
I
Okay.
really like the presentation. I don't know how we get that the steps that you put in your presentation, and I don't know if
Do
we
you?
can research in Google or something.
Well, you can research in Google about project planning. There are a lot of tools, but I can give you the presentation if you want. It's not like it was private. I mean,
Oh yes, perfect. Thank you.
no problem. Well,
Yeah, I
guys,
want it too, please.
no problem. I'll send it to all.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you for
Thanks.
the shot.
See you. Good night.
Good
Good
night, guys.
night.
Bye.
Good night.